So Nathan, we're going to be talking about movie franchises for this episode. So I figured let's try to pick some of our favorite movies in various franchises.
Let's do it.
You know, the obvious ones like Star Wars, Empire, right? And yeah. So the first one I got is X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is my favorite X-Men film. I think it's really good.
All right, that's a hot take.
Look, Deadpool, I know a lot of people don't like him in that, but he looks kind of cool.
What else you got?
Okay, fine. I also have Alien vs. Predator Requiem. It's my favorite Alien film and Predator film. I think they both go hand
What
in
else you
hand.
got?
Okay. So I know this is the one I'm going to have is a superhero film. Okay, wait. There's some good ones. This is probably the most underrated superhero film. Everyone always overlooked it. It's the extended cut of Suicide Squad.
You're fucking trolling.
Hey, I have hot takes. What with it?
Welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast, episode 95. I'm your host, Nathan, and I'm joined by the man himself, Matthew Neves, to my left.
Thank you.
And today, we're going to be talking about some dead franchises, movie franchises in general. I mean, we're in the day and age where, you know, studios are trying to stretch franchises as thin as they can and squeeze any kind of nostalgia out of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some franchises that have lasted too long, maybe some franchises that deserve a reboot,
Yeah.
and franchises that have aged gracefully. But before we start, if you're new to the channel, drop a subscribe to your boys. We drop an episode every single week where we review new movies and also talk about some subgenres of film and some topics that we're interested in. So subscribe to your boys and let's get on to it, Nev.
That was good. You said 95 instead of 96.
Damn, it's 96.
It's okay. It's okay. I didn't want to catch you off guard because you were on a roll.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Episode 96, guys.
It's all good. We're going to talk about franchises, dead franchises today. I've noticed, mainly this summer actually, that a lot of movies that are big budgets have been underperforming or flopping just all around.
Ooh, yeah.
Not just The Flash. We even reviewed Transformers, which barely broke even.
I know.
Little Mermaid cost so much fucking money. That movie barely broke even. Elemental flopped. So there's two Disney films. Indiana Jones cost $300 million. Which is insane to think about. It's like $300 million. Oppenheimer and Barbie cost half as much. Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't understand that. How much money do they have to pay to make Harrison Ford young?
Literally.
This is like CGI budget.
Bro, the fucking took them 2 years to do that. And I'm thinking, that took 2 years?
Wow,
Ooh.
$300 million for an Indiana Jones that flops is very tough. Yeah.
That's a tough one. But yeah, like that film, obviously The Flash, record-breaking $200 million loss. That was more because of the marketing. They put as much marketing in that film as they did apparently The Dark Knight, which, man, you really shouldn't have put all your eggs in that basket, my friend. That was a fucking travesty.
That's a mistake. Yeah, I think DC kind of should have seen that. You know, they're kind of just taking out the garbage here, and maybe they should have scaled back on the marketing budget. And the true fans would have seen it regardless. And that's kind of what you live with. But I think they thought that the cameos, the Michael Keaton was gonna really hit, and it didn't.
Yeah,
people didn't care as much as they thought.
No. Honestly, it was a big misfire. They thought they were gonna get a Spider-Man No Way Home, and instead they got a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So
we're in an interesting place where I think we're getting to the point where nostalgia's not enough. The cameos aren't enough, and they're still trying to stretch these franchises, but I think audiences are kind of getting hip to it, and they want to expect a little bit more out of like a sequel to a beloved franchise.
I think, because I wrote down a couple franchises that have aged poorly, that have aged well, and another category I put was the attempted cinematic universes. These are the ones that tried to follow what Marvel did back in 2008 and either underperformed, failed miserably, or didn't even start, really. They just kind of...
Let's start there, because I could use a good laugh.
Absolutely. DC twice.
So
DC tried to do a cinematic universe post-Dark Knight with Green Lantern.
Flop.
Oh, it flopped. But up until that point, the reason why they wanted to do Green Lantern was because they knew Superman and Batman were guaranteed. But they were
Yeah.
like, okay, let's see if we can actually do a cinematic universe. Let's do Green Lantern, an okay-ish familiar character from the general public's
Yeah.
perspective. That film flopped. Ryan Reynolds CGI green suit did not age well, so they tried again. And with the DCEU, it was more just like a bunch of failed attempts at it. A lot of fans weren't a fan of BVS. The studio didn't stand by Snyder's ground, so they tried to redo it. That made it worse, in my opinion. I feel like
Of course.
it lost money, actually, the reshoots of Justice League. So they tried again with Black Adam. That film also underperformed. And then we get into the third strikeout, which is The Flash, which lost the most money
Yeah.
out of all the DC films. So this is an attempt that DC has made so many times, and it feels like they've just been losing more and more money every time. Another franchise that didn't really even start was the Dark Universe. You hear about this one?
No, I didn't even know about this one.
So Universal Studios has the IP Monsters, which is the classic monsters.
Classic monster.
Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, Visible Man, you name it. So they're like, okay, we got all of these characters. What do we do with them? Well, let's try what Marvel did, which is not a good idea because these are horror characters, not
Horrible
superheroes.
idea.
So they start with The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, which is insane to think about because Russell Crowe plays like what was it, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the fuck is happening? He's the one in charge of the MonsterVerse. Film did terrible domestically. It did okay in the foreign markets, but regardless, they scrapped that idea. There was a soft-ish reboot with The Invisible Man starring Elizabeth Moss. I don't know if you remember that one.
No.
That came out 2019, 2020. It was less. It was a
Man?
very smaller budget film. Yeah, The Invisible Man, 2020.
2020.
Yeah. So apparently that was another attempt at like the horror for a cinematic universe.
trying to think if
But
I
the studio
saw-
kind of just like, nah, we're not doing that. Another attempt at a franchise was Hasbro. Hasbro has Transformers.
Hasbro's still trying.
Well, Transformers is their biggest golden nugget, where it was like Michael Bay made them tons of money.
Yeah.
So they're like, shit, let's do G.I. Joe. The first one failed at the box office. That was the Channing Tatum
Channing
one.
Tatum. I saw that one in theaters.
Dude, I saw
Yeah.
that one in too. I saw that too in theaters. That was bad.
Even as a kid, I didn't like. I wasn't even. Like,
That was lame.
It was lame.
It was like Battleship lame.
I knew it was bad as a kid.
Yeah. And then they did a sequel / reboot where they killed off Channing Tatum because
Yeah.
he was like, I don't want to be in this franchise anymore. So they got The Rock, which, as we all know, if The Rock is in your cinematic universe, you're gonna make big bucks.
Yeah.
That film flopped
Yeah,
too.
you're fucked.
Bruce Willis was in it for like 2 minutes as the shooting gun guy.
That's funny. It must have been a big check.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bruce.
Shout out to Bruce. Then they do Snake Eyes because they're like, well, fuck, G.I. Joe flopped twice.
Yeah.
What about Snake Eyes? People remember that character. No, they didn't because it flopped again. And then Rise of the Beast does that infamous post-credit scene where it's like, oh, we're bringing back G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
I wonder where they're gonna go with that. If they're really gonna lean into it, or if it's just a little Easter egg and they're not gonna make it a big thing. But if they really try to go for the G.I. Joe Transformers movie next, it's gonna flop massively.
It's just army dudes.
It's not a good call.
Yo, here's a good plan, all right? Hasbro, you go talk to Mattel. Hear me out. You go talk to Mattel and you make a Barbie G.I. Joe crossover.
There we go.
And you do it in that style. Trust me. Nobody gives a shit about army dudes shooting guns anymore.
Nope.
That shit's boring. It's been done to death. Make some satire. Make
It's
some,
done.
yeah.
And we don't want to see with Transformers. That's for sure.
Fuck that,
Our main
man.
critique of Transformers is
Yeah.
we want more Transformers,
Yeah.
less humans.
Less humans.
So,
Get the
less
fucking
humans,
human characters out of those
get 'em
movies.
the fuck out of there for real.
I don't know if you heard of the King Arthur universe. This was
No.
this was a guy.
This is a deep cut, bro.
So in 2016, Guy Ritchie directed this film called King Arthur and the Sorcerer's Stone, for whatever the fuck it's called.
It's Guy Ritchie, eh?
It's Guy Ritchie, yeah, he was on it, and apparently Warner Brothers gave him a ton of money to be like, all right, you're gonna make like a medieval cinematic universe where King Arthur meets up with all of these mythical creatures and characters. And it was supposed to be like, it was supposed to be kind of like the Lord of the Rings, but with a Guy Ritchie flavor to it. Unfortunately, the marketing was poorly done. This came out in 2016. The film cost like $250 million, only made 200 million back.
Mm.
So they scrapped that instantly.
Did you see it? Was it good?
It didn't look terrible. Honestly, it looked better than Aladdin, which, in my opinion, is Guy Ritchie's like worst film.
I just saw The Covenant recently.
Was that good?
It's a little bit of a sidetrack. Covenant was fire.
Nice.
Well shot.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, you already know what to expect from Jake Gyllenhaal. It's like his role. Like,
Yeah.
he's great in that kind of like war fucking role.
Okay.
He kills it. It's a great film. Very very solid movie that I would recommend.
Beautiful. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna check that one out because I like Guy Ritchie's films. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we get into Ghostbusters. So 2016, they made a Ghostbusters reboot, and they put a lot of money into it. Not just the movie itself, not just the marketing, but
Yeah.
they created a separate company called Ghost Corp
Wow.
just for Ghostbusters movies, which I'm like right away I was hesitant because I was just like, okay, like what can you really do with Ghostbusters outside of Bill Murray,
know.
Harold Ramis, Stan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson?
It's hard when it's a franchise built on this ensemble cast, right? And
Yeah.
when you don't have those guys anymore, it's like we love the guys. We didn't love like the idea wasn't that crazy or unique.
No.
It was like we loved the ensemble cast
Yeah.
doing that.
It was
very much a movie about likable characters.
It was the humor that worked. It was the concept that worked with the humor.
Yeah.
It was very much a lightning in the bottle. Hence why
I agree.
Hence why like after Ghostbusters 2, it was like, well, what do you do with this franchise? I guess they're older. And it's like, so when they tried to do the 2016 Ghostbusters, to me, the humor did not work. The humor was not the same as it was in the 80s. It just didn't land for me. It was quite boring. It wasn't that unique
No.
with its like story. So I was just like, I don't give a shit. Then they tried to reboot it again, sort of, with Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is basically like, well, you guys didn't like the other one, so we're gonna bring back Bill Murray, we're gonna bring back Dan Aykroyd, and we're gonna bring back CGI Harold Ramis. I'm like, what the fuck? No, I hate that. I hate this. Like, it was completely the opposite of just like over nostalgia. It was like, wow, look how whimsical it was. It's like Ghostbusters wasn't whimsical.
Yeah.
It's about four dudes trying to make a living.
A lot of the and I don't like a lot of these franchises that just come back years later with like the premises, like you said, I guess they're older, and that's it. That's all it has to offer.
No, yeah.
And it's like it's not enough. There's got to be a compelling. They got to be older, but they could be older, but they got to be telling a compelling story.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, oh yeah, Harrison Ford's old now and he's still indie.
And they don't really dive into it any more than that, which I'm not a huge fan of. Apparently, Ghostbusters Afterlife is getting a sequel because that movie made money. So I'm curious what direction they're gonna go with it. I guess the kids are gonna be the next ones in charge, like the teenager 20-something Ghostbuster. That's what I mean. It's such a weird concept to continue. This is not a legacy franchise.
No, it's what you said. They captured this lightning in a bottle with Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I think it was the era. I think it was the actors.
Yeah.
And it's not one that you could just recreate. I don't think.
No, it's part of the 80s.
Yeah.
Another franchise which I wish existed, but I totally understand why it didn't, was the Pacific Rim Godzilla King Kong crossover. So apparently the Monsterverse, which happened, they made, I believe, 2 Godzilla films, King Kong and Godzilla vs. Kong.
I saw that in theaters, yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like monsters fighting.
Yeah.
I also loved the first Pacific Rim film. I thought that was a very well-made action film.
Yeah.
With kaiju monsters, you can't go wrong. And apparently, the sequel to Pacific Rim was going to be continuing that Godzilla and King Kong. They were going to meet up with the robots.
Huh.
But Pacific Rim Uprising flopped so hard that they were not going to continue any of the Pacific Rim films after that.
Damn.
So we're not going to get that. But, it happens. Things bomb.
It's so funny to look at these because when you think of cinematic universes, our heads now only go to superheroes. right? And
Yeah.
it's like, man, they tried with like King Arthur, they tried with Pacific Rim. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's cool to think that it's not just a superhero thing, but I guess superhero, cinematic universes have just been so popular.
Well, the
that-
first cinematic universe kind of came from the Universal monsters.
yeah, that's true.
It is weird to think about, like in 1940 something, like was it Frankenstein meets the Wolfman?
Right.
Like that was one of the first ever crossovers, and
That's
you just like,
insane. It really is a a really old like thing. Like
yeah. And they brought the same actors in. Like you had like Son of Frankenstein,
Yeah.
Bride of Frankenstein, and like Dracula, Son of Dracula. It's like, what the fuck? And then after that era of horror films, you had the Hammer films, which was like the 50s and
Yeah.
60s. That's where you saw, if you're any Star Wars fans out there, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, like
Yeah.
a lot of these classic actors. Even David Prowse played Frankenstein's monster in one of the films, who was the guy in the Darth Vader suit. So I don't know.
Crazy.
Crazy stuff.
So those are some cinematic universes that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Some I would want to see, like maybe that Pacific Rim one, like you said. Some I'm glad,
Someday.
Some I'm glad they didn't work out.
Yeah.
To be fair.
I don't give a shit about like fucking the Hasbro GI Joe.
Yeah, that's one I never want to see.
Yeah.
To come to fruition. Let's talk about franchises that have lasted way too fucking long.
Oh, this is my favorite. Okay.
Because there's a lot of them.
You want to go first? I think I know what yours is gonna be.
I mean, Fast and Furious. We're on 10, and it's too long. It's too long. It's been too long. 7 would have been a great close, and it wasn't. But I get it. They're making money. I think Ludacris put it really simply. It's like people keep asking why we're making more, and because they make money. And when he says
He's not
that,
wrong.
it's like I don't really have a rebuttal to that. I get it.
If it
It's-
makes money, yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie that's like appeals to a very wide, like casual viewing audience, and I get it, but they're not doing anything for me these days.
Yeah, it's definitely been like the most adaptable, not in quality, but just like, oh well, you go from the first Fast and Furious where it was very much a car film. You had the style and stuff like that, but because we've reached the not James Bond, the Avengers type of action, it's like, well, now it's got to look like fucking Thanos is fighting Dominic Toretto. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
It's too much.
One of my picks is Terminator. It's so dated now when you really think about it. The first 2 Terminator films are awesome. They're very well made. James Cameron nailed it both times.
Yep.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day basically just amps it up to 11. And
What a fantastic sequel. One
Oh
of the
my
best sequels of all
God.
time.
And the ending
Yeah.
is a perfect ending.
This is another one of those Ghostbuster situations, in my opinion, where they James Cameron caught lightning in a bottle with Arnold Schwarzenegger in his absolute prime.
Yes.
And it's very much a product of the time, a product of the 90s, and it's not one that should continue. It's lightning in a bottle. Terminator 2 ends so beautifully that it's not one that needed to stretch,
Linda
as long as it
Hamilton
has.
Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor is fucking great in
Yeah.
both films. You see her
Oh,
character arc,
amazing.
and yeah, I don't know. Once you get to Terminator 3, hot take. I find Sarah Connor a far more interesting character than John Connor. John Connor is a great
100% right.
stepping stone for the future.
Yeah.
But when you see him, and I'm even gonna count the Christian Bale version of this, it just sounds like, dude, bro, I gotta stop the machines.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor has way more character than, dude. Even Kyle Reese has more character than John Connor. Who the fuck? Like it's literally like he's the MacGuffin. That's the whole concept. Is like John Connor is the MacGuffin
You're
to
absolutely
stop
right.
the terrible future. And even Cameron said recently, it's like, if I make another Terminator film, it's just AI.
Yeah.
It's just AI at this point, guys. I don't know about
Isn't that
you,
crazy?
but like, the first Terminator film, the Terminator is trying to look for Sarah Connor through a phone book.
Yeah.
Yellow Page is like, yeah. That's
yeah,
how
it's very much a product of the times. It's a really cool concept at that time, especially, and that I think that had a big factor of why it did so well, because there hadn't really been anything like that on screen before, and
Right.
with Arnold doing it, which is
Yeah.
just, heightened that.
it's amazing. So once you get to like Terminator 6, it's like, bitch, why the fuck are you using robots still? You can use like microchips
Yeah.
and like kill someone instantly.
And they did get some good actors to like
yeah.
keep the franchise going. It was poorly written. I mean, they got guys like Christian Bale, like you said, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't work. It just didn't work, and I think Terminator is one that they got to leave lay to rest.
Yeah.
Except if James Cameron wants to do it,
Yeah, I
then
mean,
I'll see it.
I doubt he's coming.
No,
back
he's
to
not.
it.
He's not gonna do it.
He's got Avatar and Alita.
He's got 500
so
avatars to make.
Yeah.
They take 50 years each. So
They take 50 years. I read that he's gonna work on an Alita Battle Angel sequel, which
Okay.
I fuck with that movie. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, you know what? I'll take that.
other franchises that
Another-
have lasted too long and need to be laid to rest.
I said Terminator. You said Fast. You go now.
Halloween.
Yeah,
This is one of my favorite franchises, even though most of the films are bad.
I'm with you.
I got a
man.
soft spot for Michael Myers. I always have. And they're really fumbling the bag with the new Halloween films. I'm glad this last one was the end of this new trilogy. But boy, did they fumble so bad. It really hurt my feelings. Like, they got Jamie Lee Curtis to come back,
Yeah.
which is almost unheard of. I mean, she gets her start in horror movies in this, like, low budget Halloween in the 70s.
Yeah,
Which, I mean, lots of big actors got their start in horror movies and never go back to them.
that's true. Yeah.
And you get Jamie Lee Curtis to come back for not one film, a trilogy. So you have the opportunity to do a really good arc with the original character that started it all. And you mess it up. They put her off to the side. They do not use her well, and it's an absolute crime. I could tell that she loves the franchise, and she wanted to give back to the franchise that started her career. That's what she said.
Right.
But it just didn't work out, and it's a shame because I feel like they'll never have source material like that again to work with. Like, they have the Jamie Lee Curtis still, and she's had such an amazing career and can give this like amazing nuanced performance as an older version of her character, and the writing just doesn't do it.
Yeah. It kind of sucks too because it wasn't even the first time that she came back. Halloween
that's
H2O
true too. Yeah,
with LL Cool J. I'm just looking at this now. I'm like, oh my fucking
they
god.
had so many chances.
Halloween Resurrection. You know what happens in that movie?
Which
she
one is
fucking dies.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
And Buster Rhymes looks at Michael Myers like, trick or treat, motherfucker.
Yeah,
And then
and then they just wreck on that
spin
quick.
kicks him, man. Oh, yeah. Halloween has been, to say it's been butchered is an understatement.
Yeah, I mean H2O, man. I don't even count those movies are fucking.
Do you even count the
parodies.
Rob Zombie films?
No.
No.
They got their own style to them,
Right.
but I don't like them.
They get too fucking weird, right?
They get too fucking weird.
That's fair.
But this new trilogy that just came out, they kind of made it look grounded. It wasn't Busta Rhymes and shit in it.
No, it wasn't that
They
good,
were
yeah.
like, let's do the Laurie Strode. Like,
Yeah.
she has this trauma from her past.
Right.
And they almost do it right. They almost set up the trauma that Laurie has and how she's this broken person for her whole life because of what happened to her and how it's reflecting on her kids' relationships and
Right.
stuff like that. And they almost touch it the right way, and then they go away from it. And it's a real shame with the Halloween franchise. I don't want to see a reboot anytime soon
It's not worth it.
unless a big director wants to do it.
You know this director who worked on the new Halloween films? Guess what he's directing now?
What?
The Exorcist Beginning.
Oh.
You know what they're doing for that one?
What are they doing?
They got the actress from the first Exorcist to come back. It's literally the same fucking shit.
It didn't work with the biggest horror franchise of all time, and it's not going to work with Exorcist either.
Here's my hot take, though. I think the first Exorcist is a better film than the original Halloween film.
Yep.
Halloween franchise, though, stands way better than Exorcist franchise.
Yeah.
I can only name, I think the first one's good. I think the third one's good. Everything else is complete dog shit.
I
Like, do
completely
not
agree.
even touch it. And
Yeah.
so the fact that what's his name? David Gordon Green, he's rebooting The Exorcist and he's just doing the same fucking shit.
Good luck, brother.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that too. That was a fucking rough one.
When is that coming out? This year?
Yeah, it's coming out October, I think. Hold on, let me see. Exorcist 2023 Believer. It's called Believer, guys.
The Exorcist Believer.
October 13th. They're bringing back the same actress from the first Exorcist because
She's how old?
she's 90 years old.
Holy fuck.
She's going to fight the demon, guys. Trust me. She's going to make it.
Wow, nobody is too old anymore to bring back, eh? We're in a day and age where nobody is too old.
I'm just glad they're not CGIing any fucking like what is it? The priest from the first one. Imagine they
Oh my
CGI
God.
him. "Ah, the power of Christ compels you.
Like in one calendar year, you get Harrison Ford playing Indy.
Oh,
How fucking
God.
old is he?
He's like 80.
You get the Exorcist girl coming back,
She's
which is
90.
insane, and then you also get Michael Keaton playing Batman.
He's 100. I'm just kidding. I'm not going that far. No, Michael Keaton's the youngest of the three, which is really like the man's in his 70s.
Which
But
is wild.
goddamn. I guess an example of a franchise that has been around for a while now, but everyone thinks about it, and when you hear the title franchise, you're like, oh yeah, Jaws.
Ooh yeah.
Jaws is a great example of a franchise that never needed to be a franchise.
No.
A great first movie. I think a comedian even talked about it, where it's just like, once you hit Jaws 4, you're stupid.
You're stupid.
You're stupid, and you should not be watching it because it's a stupid movie.
No.
Jaws the Revenge. A shark seeks revenge.
It's so stupid to build a franchise around a fucking shark.
fucking
it's so
shark.
stupid.
What the fuck?
It's so stupid. And the first movie is so good.
Yeah.
It's just a classic example of a greedy studio when it comes to Jaws. I think they had nothing to offer after the first one.
Marty McFly made fun of it too. The shark still looks fake. I'm just saying, guys. I don't know when it's been the butt of the joke, and that's what people kind of look at as like, okay, franchises have always been shit. Even Jaws. Jaws came out in the 70s, and they fucking like pumped sequel after sequel after sequel, and it's just, I'm not a fan. I feel like Friday the 13th had its moments, but at the end of the day, it's a clear example of like overstaying your welcome.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, oh, look, it's Jason X. We're in space now. It's just like, it's bad.
I mean, it happened in Nightmare on Elm Street. It happened the same thing. It just got so bad so quick.
They both got rebooted too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I saw both of those. I remember like around the 2010s, right?
I couldn't even finish the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I was just thinking to myself, how do you make Rooney Mara boring?
Bro, he looked so bad in that movie. Freddie looked so
what the
shit.
fuck was that? And you know what? It's the actor who played it, Jackie Earl Haley. He was Rorschach.
Oh, no way.
Great actor, but when you put 50 pounds of fucking makeup on a guy,
he looked
how the
horrible,
fuck is he
bro.
supposed to act?
He looked horrible.
He's like,
It looks so uncomfortable.
wasn't his flesh gone? Why the
Yeah.
fuck does it look like he gained 50 pounds of makeup? Like,
that movie was really bad. And the Friday the 13th one wasn't much better either.
yeah, I
It-
mean,
The Nightmare on Elm Street one was worse. For
yeah,
sure.
it's worse. I feel like it's worse because it's like with Nightmare on Elm Street, they had more rules, they had more of the lore. Let's be honest, Friday the 13th, it's fucking Jason.
Yeah.
If you screw up the Jason part, then I know. Or I know we're running out of time. Nathan, let's talk about franchises that have aged well and what they can, what bad franchises can learn from it, or just future films in general.
Yeah, I mean, you have James Bond here on the list. I mean,
Yep.
James Bond, Daniel Craig has killed it
Yep.
as Bond for sure. And some of the most solid entries, the best entry, I mean, we both agree, is Casino Royale.
Oh yeah,
The best entry in a long, long franchise that has
Mm-hmm.
spawned generations. So that one's still going and going strong. I like what Lord of the Rings is doing now. I mean, they transitioned to The Hobbit seamlessly. Everybody
Yes.
loved it. Now they're doing Rings of Power.
Yeah.
It seems to be working really well.
Yeah.
That's an example. But Lord of the Rings can go forever because it has source material.
Yeah.
It's not a movie about a shark.
yeah.
It has a
It's
universe.
not just a shark.
You know what I mean?
There's actual like, it's Middle Earth. There's a
Exactly.
lot.
Exactly.
I agree.
So
I
what
agree.
are some that you enjoy and you look out for if there's a new entry?
A great franchise, Rocky. Love
Oh,
it. It's
yeah.
so down to earth. Even when it gets silly, which I feel like
Which it
Rocky
did.
4 is the silliest of the franchise. Even when it's at that point, I love it.
But then came back grounded with Creed. So
Yes.
it's done right.
Love it. I feel like that franchise has lasted longer than so many, and for good reason. Stallone, he put his heart and soul into it. Ryan Coogler, he gave him a shot with Creed, and it worked out super well. Now Michael B. Jordan
Is carrying the torch.
carrying the torch, and
And
yeah.
we're gonna see a lot more Creed in the future, I think.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, let us know what your favorite franchise is. What are you checking out for when a 10th movie of whatever franchise comes out?
It's come to that.
Yeah, it's come to that. Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching this episode of the Real Talk Podcast. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to your boys. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.